got this guy at the toy swap meet from a couple months ago, you guys will remember. And originally I was gonna take this head and put it on a different Batman body and make just a maskless Bruce Wayne, you know, like you took the mask off. Well, it didn't work because the heads were different. Anyway, so what I decided to do is just do that with this guy. We're gonna make this a Bruce Wayne and not a Thomas Wayne, because I could give a crap about Thomas Wayne. So we're gonna make this guy Bruce Wayne, and what we're gonna do is we're gonna make this a very classic Batman. So we're gonna blue up the cape, we're gonna add all the blue highlights. So this is gonna be a very 1970s, 1980s looking Batman. And ever since kind of making that decision, I've been much more excited about customizing this guy. Because originally I was like, oh, we'll keep him the same. Maybe I'll lighten up the gray. I don't know. Now we are definitely going to light up the gray. We're going to make him blue. I think it's going to turn out really awesome and look really cool on the shelf. So when you're able, something like this where you're just not super excited, you're kind of like, oh, well, I can do and have a new character. But if you go a little bit more extreme, you're probably gonna end up with something cooler. So that's what we're doing today. This is gonna be an extreme makeover, Batman edition. Let's get moving. First off, what we need to do is remove these holsters, because as we know, any good Batman worth of salt, especially a classic one, is not going to use guns. Thomas Wayne might, but Bruce Wayne definitely does not. So let's remove these, and we're gonna keep these because these could be used in any number of other figures. You know, you could just glue them onto somebody's belt and it would probably look really, really cool. So that's what we're gonna do here, is just remove these with an X-Acto knife. While we're here with the X-Acto knife, I'm gonna see if I can remove this red. I was thinking I could just paint it black because I'm gonna go with a standard, just non-oval symbol, but I think it will look weird. So I'm just gonna see if we can get these out, and we'll see. And if we can't, then we'll figure something out. But I think we should be able to, if we just keep the blade just underneath. Let's see what we got. Oh, all right, well that worked out pretty well. You can still see there's got an edge there, but at least we got rid of that, and we might be able to, it'll just be less noticeable, I think, from here on out. So that was a good choice. I'm gonna use this ultramarine blue, and we're gonna start on the blue part. Now, since the moment that I kind of was like, hey, I'm gonna make this guy a classic blue, I've been really excited to start on the blue, just because it's gonna make such a huge difference on this guy. So let's just go through and start adding this blue on the cape and on the other aspects, because it's such a big difference. It's gonna change things up immediately, and it is so fun when you are doing that. When you've got something that is changing a character just instantly in huge ways, and the blue is going to do just that. There is something so cool about watching a character transform quickly like this, because it becomes something completely different, just almost instantaneously, and it is so much fun to see, because now he's not Thomas Wayne anymore. Haven't painted his hair dark yet, but he is becoming a classic Batman. And I don't have like a type of classic Batman like this. This is gonna look so awesome. So for his suit, I'm gonna do a Stonewall gray, but I wanna do it more as a dry brush. I wanna lighten it up, but I don't wanna go too crazy on it. I wanna keep sort of the lines and things. And so I'm gonna try and get it on there fairly light. Now I could take them apart at this point, obviously, but I'm not gonna. I could. I know some people who would. For me, it's like, if I had done that at the beginning, I probably would, but when I'm just doing a light coating, I don't feel the need to really take him all the way apart. So I'm just gonna go through here, dust him up, and keep as many of the darker details as I possibly can. Before we go in and start hitting the details and just kind of fixing up, you know, some of the slop on here while this guy dries, I'm gonna go through and I'm gonna gold up his belt. Now, I don't want the entire belt to be gold because I don't want these pockets to be gold. But what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna go over the top of everything with gold, because as you know, I've got that yellow paint and I haven't gotten a better paint, and it's very liquidy. And so I'm gonna do a base gold on it, and then I'll go over on these pouches and stuff, and I'll go over with the yellow, and that will make it so that it looks less gold. It'll be much more like a muted cloth. But if I go over it now with the red, it's just going to be too thin. So I need to have a base yellow before I do that. And then I should only be able to need to do one coat. So that's what we're going to do. Well, the gold is drying. Let's do our next major thing, which is the hair. The great thing about this head sculpt for something like this is that he doesn't look particularly old. You know, they kind of had, I guess that Thomas Wayne was on drugs or something like that, no idea, but he didn't really seem to have any age other than the gray hair. So blackening his hair, he's going to make a perfect Bruce Wayne. He doesn't look old. He's going to look exactly the way you want a Bruce Wayne to look. And so that's one of the reasons why this is such a simple and cool custom. Once you get into these little details on the head or anywhere in the body, obviously you'll want to use your magnifying glass and a small brush. And then remember to let the paint lead. Get enough on there that you're not touching the edges with the actual brush, that you're touching the edges just with the paint. And that will get it so you can get right up to it and not get it on the skin. Now I'm just going through and patching up some of the spots where I got a little bit of the gray on the blue and fixing the black, just to make sure that everything is looking as perfect as possible. Remember, you'll never get it exactly perfect, but the toys you buy at the store are not exactly perfect, so you're just fine. Get it as close as you can. And no one will notice, I promise. Just to add a little bit of texture, I'm going through with some of the gray, just with a little bit of water mixed in. And I'm going to highlight some of these just areas where the fabric would be stretched a little bit against the, against his muscles and stuff, his musculature. Most of the time I'm not going to do something like this, but I think in this circumstance I kind of like the idea of doing that and just adding some highlights here and there. I'm going to add a little bit of wash under here too. But we'll do that in a few minutes. And we're going to hit these with the yellow. Make it so that they are no longer gold. But you can see that since I did the gold, I can now put a very light coat on, make them look more like fabric or some other material and not so metallic, and they will in fact look better. Now while I was going through this guy, I noticed that he's got some just little details on the gauntlets and stuff, and I just want to hit them. I'm just going to put a little bit of silver on these rivets just to give it a little bit of life. Not much, just, it's going to make them stand out a little bit. And this sort of stuff I like because it's kind of fun, and then it makes it so that he looks a little bit more utilitarian. So I'm just going to go through and hit some of these silver spots. And I think we're about done. Last thing, we're going to go through and just add a little bit of wash in here. And again, I don't usually do this with the comic book figures, but with him, he's got enough texture that I kind of want to do it. Just to add some shadowing in here, a couple of areas. And I think it will look really nice, especially since I went through and highlighted a little bit of these areas with the lighter gray. I think it's just gonna make a few things stand out. Nothing too much, subtlety is the name of the game, but this will go a long way in just making this guy really special. I may not care about Thomas Wayne, but a classic unmasked Bruce Wayne Batman I will take every day of the week, and we finally have one. This guy turned out great. Loved lightening up the colors. This was really simple. It was more about just, kind of getting your coverage with what colors you wanted to use, whether this is the blue that you like or the gray or whatever. You get to choose that. I was actually debating over a really light powder blue, the same one that I used for my Val Zod, in which case he would have been really bright. But I went with this darker one. I think this was the right choice for me personally. Whatever you guys want to do it. Have some fun. Take these guys, make them your own. He is going to look awesome on the shelf, and he's going to stand out against all the other darker Batmen. I now have a great unmasked Batman that's good 1980s classic. You guys get out there, customize, have fun. Check out my books at stephenhuman.com. If you guys like sci-fi thrillers like Twilight Zone stuff, that sort of stuff, that's what I write. Check it out. and I will see you next week on Superhuman Customs.